Your Friday Draftstars matchup. So there's two games here: Storm v Titans, Seagulls v the Eels, and you're hoping for a Storm big win here if you're playing in this game. It'll be very interesting. If it doesn't work out that way, I think a lot of us will really struggle. So I suppose that's an interesting theory or a tactic that you can go with these types of games. Is if you think it's going to be very much a one-way street, you can have a team that goes the other way and has a bunch of Titans outside backs for something like, for example, like that will be very interesting. But Seagulls and the Eels, I think it's going to be super close. With Moses out and Jake Arthur coming in, I can see it being a lot closer than what a lot of people are thinking. It's away from Eels home with how well they played last week. I still think there's plenty of improvement and consistency that needs to come their way. So in the outside backs, you've got someone like Ruben Garrick at the top of the pile there. 17,000. I think I'm going to bypass him and go for a few of the cheaper guys in that Manly Parramatta game. And you obviously have guys like Mike Acevo who continue to play fairly well there and has been fairly consistent. A 31, his lowest in the last four. And I think that's good enough to pop in your team. And guys like Penasini and Gutherson have been a lot more consistent of recent time, especially Will Penasini, who's had a bit of a tough three-game stretch. But you can see the majority of games around that have been consistent around that 40 mark. So if you can bank on him to get somewhere around that 40 again, I think he's going to be a solid one to pick up. You got guys like Seve and Kola who have been really solid. I think are good ones to pick up. You also got guys like Philip Sami, who has been super consistent. You see those 42 up to 52 the last 3 weeks. I think he's someone that you could select as well, rather than going for guys like Garrick. Kola returning after the week off, he'll be nice and fresh, and he was scoring really, really well up until that 22nd of July game there. Seve has been super safe, and I'd be picking him up for sure if you're just going that individual game. Jayden Campbell's a solid one, so he gets the one jersey back after playing a little bit off the bench in recent weeks, those last two. And you saw those 4 games where he's back at fullback doing well. He had 36.9 was his lowest. So 12,000, he's a solid one as well, even up against a Melbourne side. If we're looking lighter than that, you've got Tyron Wishart who's getting the one jersey, and you've seen him play one decent game there on the 8th of May and hasn't had too many opportunities other than being off the bench. So Wishart is a solid one to pick up in this game, I believe, along with guys like Patrick Herbert. Sneakily has scored 3 decent games in the last 4 of 35 plus. So yeah, someone to chuck on your radar, but not someone to be too excited about popping in my team. But looking at the guns in the halves and hookers, you got DCE, you got Munster, and you got Harry Grant who lead the 3 there. I would be personally looking at Munster and DCE very clearly. Obviously, the 2 most expensive guys, 22,000 and also 23 there. DCE is the one coming off 2 lighter ones. I think we get him a little bit of a discount, and considering he can get up into up to the 100 range, but I think somewhere around the 65-70 will be where he's at in this game. So if you're looking at Manly v Para, there's that option. And then you've got someone like Dylan Brown who gets a little bit of an increased role with Moses being out. And I think he can do a great job and get you closer to a 50 or 60 like he's had the last 2 weeks there. So obviously pretty consistent, 47 and up. But if you're paying 18,000, we're going to need 50 odd from him at a minimum. So he's definitely a play that you can go for. I wouldn't touch Reid Marnie. He hasn't been playing great. I've still got just 2 tries last week and only picked up the 56 points. So not on my radar if we're looking for someone like that. And Jake Arthur's an interesting one. He did get a couple of opportunities earlier in the year in that in the 6th position, but that was next to Moses. And now that he's going to be more the dominant half, I still think he's a decent show to pick up, whether it's in the flex or in this halves position for that Manly v Para game. So definitely someone to look at and potentially plug in so you can spend up a little bit more on guys like DCE, for example. Okay, we move to the forwards, and guys like Papali'i and Olakau'atu are going to be great selections in this game. If you're going them two, I think Sean Lane has to be in the conversation as well in that game. So you've got Isaiah Papali'i and Sean. Is it going to be hard to pick up both? Yes. Is it going to be hard to pick up Olakau'atu as well? Also, yes, that 21 for him is a real outlier. So that might scare a few off, but I think he's going to be fine heading into this game against the Eels. So any of those 3 are going to be good. We only be able to select one of them, potentially. And yeah, you can make that decision on your own. But we moved down a little bit. Aaron Clark and Beau Fermor are both solid options, but I would be personally going for Aaron. More chance through the middle that he'll be able to get at least that 45 at that minimum there, which he didn't play incredibly well last week in terms of his stats, but he was still able to get that score, which is enough for a 15,800 salary there. If But moving down the line, guys like Kenny Bromwich have continued to be super solid, along with Nelson Asafa-Solomona. So both those guys are averaging just a 50 and above there for mid-tier salary guys. Very solid, but along with Felice Kafusi, all are guys that don't usually score this well. So it could just be a little bit of a run and could be getting a little bit lucky on that one. If we're going a little bit lower, Andrew Davey continues to score well, averaging 46 now over his last 3. And you can see before that he was hitting 38, 40, and 41. So definitely anything around that mark or above will be ideal for Andrew and his scoring and anyone who picks him up. But he's a lot more expensive than what he was. So we're getting him at 10, 10.5, 11. And it's definitely upped it from there. It's very similar to someone like Tui Kamakamika, who, again, we could get her in the 12s, 11s earlier and has continued to be consistent. I think we can still pick him up at that price if you need someone that little bit lighter there. We see Brandon Smith comes back this week, but he's off the bench, and I'm not too excited by him in that position compared to when he's in the 9. So I'll probably leave him this week, and be interesting to see how he comes back anyway and how he plays, how much effort he puts in. Is he going to get a bit too excited? Is there a lot going to happen? We'll find out, but I'm excited to see it. But that is the end of the forwards, really. Pretty expensive, a lot of them. You get a few guys in the 13s maybe, but generally you'd have to spend up a bit in this position. So that's why I think going light in the outside backs will be the best way to go in this one. So I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Plenty of information on both of those games and lots of players. Jump into that description below, hit that sign up link, and I can't wait to see you guys on the other side. Have a great weekend.